Now, here's our beautiful Prepare to Cry all bosses compilation. We have the entire um all of my bouncers, and we're gonna go and do the lore of every single boss in this game. Let's go. First
Boss
boss.
is over here. His name is King Slime. And
Yes.
the thing you have to notice about a lot of the lore of these bosses is that the lore is more so kind of just it's less so lore and more so a metaphor
It's up
for
it's all up for interpretation,
yeah,
honestly.
of course. But
So
this is what we
FNAF.
believe to be correct. Now,
All right, so King Slime, I personally believe is a leader. It's a metaphor of a leader of minorities, right?
yes, of
Now,
course.
I know this might be a far-fetched claim, and there's no
What?
negativity of this. It's just that, look, there's so many slimes everywhere, and they're all different colors. I believe the King Slime is a metaphor of equality, right?
Of
I think that King
course.
Slime is an example of a leader of that. Now, this is really represented by his fighting style, which is diverse and
He's fat.
proves to be difficult at times. But it's a nice first boss to fight. It is it's
Which I think
very
it all goes along with the theme of terrorizing minorities, which ends at the challenger. And
yeah, yeah,
this
Oh,
is
yeah.
oh.
That's why this is the
kind
easiest
of
boss.
where
What we're
things
trying to do
where
is
things
end
start.
racism here, right? That's the main goal of the game is to stop racism. But ultimately
But
in
ultimately
killing
it
King
will
Slime,
remain.
yeah. But in killing King Slime, we're actually harming that truth. So that is why you must,
Yes.
King Slime is a sacred
Question.
boss,
Are we
and
racist?
It's
what
yet another just outlook
is
on how
yeah,
some people they will think they're doing good, but
yeah,
really their
yeah,
views and what they say just makes problems worse,
exactly,
especially when it comes
exactly.
to minorities.
Now let me see what's our next boss here.
Queen
I
Bee.
believe that Queen Bee. Okay, I'm consulting a data sheet at the moment. All right, representing. So I feel like they both represent different minorities in equality, but Queen Slime, instead of representing by color and race, represents by the inner self with attack patterns and how it's very diverse. And there's a lot of enemies that share that. I believe that it's a different side of equality. Right. Well, King Slime represents the outer oneself. The Queen Bee represents one's inner self, which is really really depicted by these attack patterns. Allow us to show you. As to make sure we don't kill. See, very very unique, sporadic. We have the sand thing here from the sand slimes, and the bee thing, which I really really view as
As you can see, we also have the sound waves coming, which I think is metaphorical of them releasing their inner self, their shadow
yeah, really
self,
voicing themselves.
via, yes,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
quite literally
yes,
Oh,
voicing.
yeah, yeah. Then we would have the demon wolf, which I
Which
believe
is
is,
shit.
over by the woods. He's in like
yeah, by the
Japan or
woods.
something.
Japan. I don't think.
That this boss, it's a much smaller boss, and I think that its arena really just represents what it's all about, which is someone just emptiness, yet also
Yeah,
pent up rage inside.
pent up
As you can
rage.
see here, this
I think
entire
it.
really boss,
Yeah, I
this
think it really
arena,
encapsulates a certain demographic of our modern generation. Is just
yeah,
the average type of people you would find on Twitter, for example. They seem very empty, very sad, but they're also just so passionate and angry. And I believe that if they, for example, imagine this is like a box of emptiness that their mind makes, but really, there's this entire outside world here, as you can see. But what they don't understand that, and I really feel like if they tried hard enough, they could get out. So let's show this example. They're very passionate, and such as you may see here. Very
I can't
Oh,
believe
very
fuck.
very. It's just so much spite and rage built up inside of them. And it really this boss fight is a perfect example of this.
of
As you
course.
could see here by the attack patterns, the attacks in general. Honestly,
Record. Next up, we have the elemental slime, which I really just think is a kind of smaller scale. It's kind of a precursor to the virus in terms of metaphor and lore.
yeah,
just kind of, I think this boss is really just about people, just electronics, just slowly seeping their ways into
Yeah,
our
as you
life.
can see by like the lines on the arena here, and in the
Yeah,
fighting, it is a perfect example of just the like the internet and such because of just
just a bunch of goo. It doesn't
just
actually
the
do
very wide
anything.
variety of
Even
like
look,
its
I
attacks
walk
and
into it
such.
here and it
Yeah,
barely does
it's not a lot.
anything to my health bar.
Exactly. It's like
It's just
it may look like a lot, it may look like very different, but if you really look deeper, everything that it shows is the same.
exactly, that's what I feel.
Yeah, yeah, I feel as if
This
yeah, it's a
boss
perfect
is
metaphor.
also very it's a very slow boss if you fight it at the
Yeah,
stage you're supposed to, which I think
yeah,
is
yeah, we
kind of indicative of how just, like this can like addiction to electronics can really be something that can be slow to
it can be
overcome.
dangerous. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can quite overcome certain people who aren't prepared. You know, it really does
And
it gets
some
into the
people
brain.
just keep falling deeper and deeper, which I think is uh, indicative of the virus boss, which we will see later.
I'm so
So
strong.
This is
here
an
we have
influencer who has been corrupted by
yeah,
money
yeah,
and
corrupted
power,
and power. And I
of
really think
course.
that it's a prime example of you know, we could go by the backstory of Luna here, that they might have it might have gotten to their head and they might have done something to an underage fan, and that is why they're so hidden away. They have they had the color of purple
It's much
really
like the
gives a
story of "Eat That Pussy 445," if you remember that story from
yes, yes,
But was
around a
he?
year ago. Just going hiding into seclusion after doing these
Shit.
horrible things.
exactly, and it's the color of corruption, the fame in Luna's case at least got to their head.
It's also purple
Very
is
clear in
also
my
the
opinion.
color of maybe royalty, power, prowess,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I think really
exactly.
just goes around with our.
Yeah, it really just proves it.
I think so.
And me
Yeah,
dying there was a metaphor for
for how
Was a
it really,
metaphor for
you
how you
really
deleted Twitter.
for
you
how it really
really
does
yeah
just destroy some
it,
young
it
people.
really can just
Seeing
destroy
their
some people.
family, yeah, seeing that
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
their favorite creators just
Should we?
fall.
Yeah.
I want to fight the heart, please.
Oh,
Ready, please.
we have to record it. Shut up for a minute, please.
Okay, fertilizer.
Okay. All
What the
right.
fuck?
All right. So, record.
I'm recording.
All right.
Have been.
So I believe that the heart is honestly just I don't know much about its lore and backstory, as we don't really have anything to go off of here because it's just a heart. But I think it's another one of those metaphors where it's like, oh, look how shut away love is now. It's behind this waterfall, and the gymnastics you have to pull off to be able to get over here are quite extraordinary, and I really think
Yes.
it's you know, as I said, a metaphor and an example of the
Oh,
modernity of love and such, and how it's shut away, like so shut away, and it takes so much to find it and such. So,
Yes, I do agree.
and I think that's an example as well,
And
as to how
also to
its
add
moveset,
that even when
considering its
you do find
yeah,
it, even when one does find it, it's usually attacked and berated. Yet it never
yeah,
fights
and
back because it's love. It's a good thing,
yeah, it's a
objectively.
good thing,
But
but of course you come here to kill it. Um,
it's a
that's what
symbol for
everyone does
toxic
nowadays.
relationships.
It can be a symbol for toxic relationships. Yes,
Thank you.
it's there's somebody with love, a person in this world with love, and then somebody with none of it, and they go at it, they combat it.
and love
It's a
usually
perfect
loses because that's just how it is in
exactly.
this world.
It is, and honestly, there's little of it anymore, and that's a sad thing, if you ask me, because in the modern relationships, they can be very, you know, things such as
Yeah,
BDSM, for example,
I
can be
also
very
agree with
yeah
literate in the chat here. I think he makes a really good point. Um,
yeah. Honestly, I think that's also a pretty good point he does, says. But honestly, it's yeah, again an example of love now and how shut away it is. Quite a heartbreaking metaphor, but it's also quite good and very, you know, a good metaphor, honestly, in this great game of metaphors and examples. and philosophy. It is quite a quite good one. So this boss, I feel like its lore was, again, we don't have a lot of to go off of because a lot of these bosses are more metaphors and such instead of actually having a backstory, I think. But
Now,
I feel like
its
that
death right there shows just what this boss is all about, and
yeah,
that's about how people come
it's
tearing down. But
no, it helps with the metaphor because again, I was doing so well and then I just fell. I crashed. I really just came crashing down.
Sad.
It doesn't matter how good you are, but
as you can see,
you know,
taking on the boss
this
solo,
whole
how
world.
it's supposed to be taken on, it's just comes down even quicker. It's pathetic, it's disappointing, yet it's true, and it's indicative of so many people in this day's society.
Exactly, and it quite heartbreaking, honestly, if you ask me, when it comes to just that in general. People in the society, they it's a rough world now. It's a
Welcome, like,
really a rough world. And I think that this game is giving various examples of how it is a rough world, and we need to be better as a society. I believe that this boss is like its lore, honestly, unlike the other ones, there is stuff to go off of. So in order to get here, you have to go through a nice, calm
nether
cave.
portal.
There's just a whole bunch of cave or bats in the cave. Just finding their own business. They've lived happy lives, but then you go here, and it's a horrible hellscape with these rage-filled bats. They're just so filled with anger. And I think that this is a metaphor about how, modern day living conditions can really affect someone's mental state and being. And I think that's really apparent in the moveset, as much like the demon wolf that we covered previously. It's very, very rage filled. Very, very full of rage. So much so that I actually died in a singular hit.
Ah!
But yes, it is a very in-depth
And of course,
boss.
here, as you can see around the arena of the boss fight, we see cages, which I think, of course, supports your theory. Living
Yeah.
conditions.
Everyone is
living
trapped in California.
Everything is here for a reason in this
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
and
And some people may feel trapped. Yeah.
No, they
It's
just are. They just are.
some people may feel trapped, and that's what leads to this rage that builds up.
one go.
All right, I believe that the King of the Sea is his lore is, again, like the Hellbat, pretty obvious. What you just have to do is you have to look around, and as you see, there's all these small fish, right? And ultimately, I think that it's a very, very good example of how he used to be one of these small fish too. And let's an artist maybe, and just maybe I think it could be a good example of the economy of YouTube and how that works. And let's say that this fish got like a big platform, right? And somehow, and unlike all these other fish, he used his platform for self gain only, and in never gave any other fish the light of the big platform that he got, and maybe got favoritism over that because he overshadowed everything else. Much like how there will be these big creators, and these small creators, and these small creators will be they will be crushed under this, but the big creators won't. And usually the big creators are left here to bring a voice to them, but some big creators don't because they find it better to have the platform all to themselves. And while that may not be as common or big of an issue as some of the earlier entries, I believe it is still an issue, and how this fish never brought to light any of these fish's problems. So everybody just looked at this fish and was like, "Wow, this fish is so great," but never looked beyond. And I really think it's shown in the fighting style and everything
And also,
about
we
how
have
it's
another
just
thing that
yeah,
may support your theory here is that it is actually a complete replica of Duke Fishron from the game Terraria, and maybe that could be, and copyright, of course, the thing, which this could perhaps hint at copyright, and
it could.
copyright striking smaller creators. That's something big creators tend to do a lot.
I think
You
that's
ego, and I
yeah,
really just think it all comes together very nice.
yeah.
Nicely.
I'd have to agree with you there. And I feel like it's also indicative of that, as that it shares the exact same moveset of every single other one.
It's just bigger and there's more.
It's just bigger and there's more. Ultimately, I think that's quite accurate.
Next, we have the Skeleton King.
Yeah,
King in
Skeleton.
quotation marks, which I think this boss is just another. As you can see, we have the arena here. It's very reminiscent of the Demon Wolf arena, with it being big and completely empty, and then inside there's this pent up little thing. And I think this one could be more so about just someone, because Critical Legends is all about just society and the pyramid of
Yeah.
society and other people
Yeah.
being on different levels. And this is reminiscent of someone who was born into fame and power and wealth, yet really they're unhappy with it all, truly. And they just get berated by so many people all day because they were born into this wealth, but really they feel as if they have nothing, and they live a very depressing, sad, lonely life,
Yeah.
because their parents may be wealthy and famous and always busy.
Yeah. I think it's reminiscent of that in its own attack patterns, being the same thing as every other skeleton bosses. It's the same. He's the same as all of us, yet he's treated so differently because of his title and name.
Now, earlier in this video, we discussed the elemental slime and how it was about technology slowly seeping into our lives. And I think this is a much more extreme version of what some people who, check their phone all the time are going through. And they will never leave their house, they'll never go outside. It's just constantly pent up, just spending all their time online, and their outlook on reality is just
It's gone.
completely
Yeah.
just morphed into this thing.
And I feel like this entire building is very very good at representing that, because it functions as a home, right? But all you see is the room, and that's all that people see nowadays. It's just their room and their devices and such,
Yeah.
So I feel that's very, again, indicative of its attack pattern, which
And also,
represents repetition and the same thing. And there's really, you look at it and it may seem
and it
like
it
a very
looks
creative.
sluggish and almost overweight to the
Exactly.
point where it must be intentional. This must be what they were going at.
Yeah. It's being a very, very streamlined boss, yet, held to be a very difficult one, because it deals your entire health bar in a single hit. All right, I believe that the Void Eye here, its lore is mysterious, but I'm imagined that it's one of the greats, but it's blind to the fact that it's fallen, and I feel like this represents the the parental figures and guardians of this world, blind to everything that's affecting these children everywhere, like the modern generation. I feel like it's a very accurate and insightful of such, and how they're blind to everything that goes on, honestly. And they think that they are in just this nice little, town, this city, when really they're below, and they're blind to everything that's really happening. I think that's very indicative of the
Yeah, they're almost
fighting
cut
pattern.
off. Even like, look at this little bridge
Yeah.
here. As you can see,
Yeah,
it's
the
broken in the
bridge. The bridge
middle,
is
cut
cut and
off
broken.
from the rest
Yeah.
of the world, and realism. And
Yeah.
as you can see in its
Yeah.
attack patterns, it's so filled with rage, and just overall, just a pain in the ass to deal with.
What do you believe that the Halloween Lord represents? Like, what social construct, what political example is the Halloween Lord, do you think?
And if
I
it
believe
feels,
it's that some people don't fucking know that it's February. Does that sound good to you?
Can we get a clap? Can we get a clap? Bravo.
It's Chinese New Year. You need to celebrate that and not fucking Halloween. You won't see your fucking bunny girlfriend. You can't see Jesus pegging a stolfo on Halloween.
Bravo. Okay,
Oh
beautiful.
my god, I don't
And-
know a single person who could have said it better themselves.
And so is the stolfo getting piped by Jesus H. Christ.